Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky. But don't worry, it's all part of the fun at the Chili Cook-Off for books and board games. Where the chili is hot, the flavors are bold. And Bear E has your back with the official Brown Cloud Preparedness Kit. Follow the plan. Know your exits, and whatever you do, hold your breath, because this temporary pain is all for a great cause. Join us, laugh with us, survive the brown cloud, together at Key Largo Lounge in Greeley.
Join us November 8th at 11 a.m. for the 10th annual Chili Cook-Off for books and board games at our home field, Key Largo Lounge, where our small market team is making a huge statement. Scan the code for tickets and sponsorship information.
Today we get to welcome a leader who doesn't just build systems, he builds momentum, clarity, and confidence. Please help me celebrate Jordan Templeton Harris, founder and president of Fitzgerald Built, as the newest member of our community Pay It Forward giving family. He doesn't operate as a vendor, he operates as a force multiplier, a strategic partner who helps leaders. Whether an organization is growing, transforming, or trying to get unstuck, Jordan brings the operational intelligence and accountability that turn ideas into measurable outcomes. And now, he's chosen to stand with us, to make sure no one has to face a difficult moment alone. That's what makes this partnership special. That's what makes Jordan family. Please visit his profile, share his badge, and help us welcome him the way only this community can. Welcome to the family, Jordan. We're honored to walk this mission with you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Footprints Forward. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass, Pact Podcasting Networks, joining you today as we are trying to get back on schedule or get to a schedule. Just one scheduling update. Please do remember that starting tomorrow, Community Impact is on Tuesday nights. So starting tomorrow night, we're going to be back on the air with Community Impact. And we've got two wonderful, wonderful interviews with two wonderful people who are going to be joining us. One is a brand new partner with Arbok International, talking about translation. And one of the best comments, and of course I've got all the family pictures all over the place, so please forgive me. One of the best comments that he made is a translator is like a doctor, an interpreter is like a surgeon. I loved that explanation because it made it really made it more clear on what exactly they are trying to do, and they're a new member of the Community Pay It Forward program. Then, of course, we are going to be talking tomorrow to Jeanette Deathridge. Had a lot of fun in that conversation talking about her service and how her 40 years of trying to support people by looking and feeling better with her her career in oh geez, I'm losing the name of it. Mary Kay. I couldn't remember. I wanted to say the other large uh, uh, brand, but I'm glad I didn't. So, but yeah, she's joining us, and we're going to have her interview also tomorrow. But today, I am proud to bring you our once a month episode with my really, really good friend, Mr. Joel White, called the Rewired for Men Show. Okay, Joel, so I got a question. Do we actually really like to talk, or do we just like to get together because we get to hear the intro music?
Oh, that's a tough one, that. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I would like to say I like the intro music. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you know,
loop it for the whole show, and we could just sit here listening to it. But I don't think the listeners would be.
yeah, but that would be a
Mine.
lot of the show. We just sit here in silence, you know, just kind of bobbing back and forth like we do when the intro's going on. So, hey everybody, Zach Clayton, president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass and Pack Channels, here with our host Joel from Rewired for Men. Joel, how you doing, brother?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm really you're the host. I'm really the man who comes along from the UK over the water.
Brother man, I'm just a button monkey. I'm here to press buttons and you know try to give you the American version of the insanity that's going on. So you know that's pretty good for me. So Joel, I think the first thing that we ought to do, the first thing we ought to talk about is Rewired for Men. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but that was a past episode, so we're going to get restarted right now. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Rewired for Men show. So, and at a risk of maybe being a little controversial from my friend, the Englishman over here, it is the 4th of July week, and I want to make sure that everyone understands. Yeah, now you guys are like going, hell, we wouldn't want you back anyway. So, yeah.
So, your comment, not mine. You'll be pointing that way out. Yeah, your comment, not mine.
Yeah, but I would just like to make an announcement today. And please look, everyone loves fireworks. Everyone loves being out there. Everyone loves to celebrate. But check with your neighbors. Okay, you could have a veteran who suffers with PTSD. And this is a very traumatic day for them. And it could lead them to do something that none of us want. And just imagine if one of those loud pops you hear are not a firework. Keep that in your mind. If your neighbors aren't having any struggles, they'll probably look at you and say, you know what, have fun, just be safe. Just please remember, there are people out there who suffer badly with those sounds. They suffer tremendously. And just, like I said, keep it in mind that you don't know if one of those sounds that you hear is not a firework, it's something else, and your neighbor is now gone. So I'm glad to bring in my buddy, my partner, my friend, to one of the funnest show, quite honestly, I do every month. Rewired for Men's, Joel White. Joel, how you doing over there in a land where people aren't quite as kooky?
You want to bet? I think we are just a different way, mate. But, no,
I've seen the news. I know. I've seen the news.
All you got to do is watch the news and you see it all in the UK. But putting that, so no, it's right. You raise a really important point there around fireworks. We obviously do ours on bonfire night and New Year's Eve and stuff like that. But it's really relevant. The impact it can have on other people. Because people can be quite forgetful about others around them, particularly individuals who were served, and how that can traumatize them. It can have a real significant impact. So it was great you raised that. But one is it's animals as pets as well. Do you know what I mean? You've got to look after your pets. And some people don't. So
our big white dog Ghost terrifies him. Traumatizes him. I have to sleep in the basement more times during that, because it's not fireworks going off one night. It's fireworks going off for 7 straight nights. And for 7 straight nights, basically, I'm here in my basement because it muffles the sounds of them a little bit. I can turn up the podcast I'm listening to, and it helps Ghost block them out. But it terrifies him to where he's just so anxious and scared to death. Yeah. And he's, like I said, he's our biggest dog, but it just tortures him. So, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, but, our neighbors are very cool. And we do have a combat vet neighbor, but he's okay. He's okay. Yeah. So that doesn't mean he's going to stay okay. So I'm still going to ask him if I light fireworks, in which we will not light the ones that explode because of Ghost. Ghost is a part of my family. I want him to be there. Now, the dummy's still going to try to chase the sparkler, but,
Well, that's not going to end well, is it?
Oh, we've had some dogs, brother. We've had some dogs. So, Joel, we've got a very, very interesting time going on because your country is probably mad right now because of what's going on with the football, and then we've got the World Cup over here in the United States because it's going to bring the world together.
Yeah, there's so many ways. It'll bring the corporates together to make lots of dollar. Yeah. But we won't go down that road. That's not this show.
Yeah. So, and you and I were talking before the show about how it's insane, and me as a hockey fan, and as a guy who watches American football and stuff like that, it never makes any sense to me why people get angry at other fans when their teams lose. And it never makes any sense to me if, my team wins, why I'm going to sit there and make fun of somebody I don't know. You know what? If I'm there with a buddy and my team wins and his team loses, I'm going to give him a ration of shit. I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to say, yeah, your boys put a good one out there tonight, didn't they? We're friends. We can handle it. We're okay, because he's going to do the same thing to me next time. I got a good friend who's a Rangers fan. Well, she's a good friend sometimes. When the Rangers lose, she's a good friend. But, and we can sit there and we can have that playful banter. Yeah. But to do this to somebody you don't even know, I watched. One example of this was 2 years ago, back when the Rangers were any good. President's Trophy champions. Yeah, but they ended up losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the second round of the playoffs. And there was, or no, it was in the first round. It was in the first round. And there was a Rangers fan and a Lightning fan who were going down the escalator. And this Rangers fan, who was a large individual, just slapped the snot out of this smaller Tampa Bay fan. Just whacked him upside the head, knocked the guy out, sent him to the hospital. And it's like, it's a game, for God's sakes. It's a game. That's all this is.
Yeah.
It's your world is not going to change tomorrow, whether they would have won or lost.
Yeah.
Why do we do this, Joel?
I think part of why we do it, and I reflect on that, the way we are biologically as men, there is a lot more testosterone there that we have in our brains and how we operate, and on mass from a physical perspective, men are bigger, they are stronger than the general population of women, and particularly in the West, there is no real mechanism that we have to manage that. We're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We don't necessarily do as much with other men, going out doing stuff together, building shelters or whatever it is. So there's no real way for that to go anywhere. So we have these replacement things like football and soccer, and where men get together and vent negative energy, which could be used in a better way. But also, you don't have to go that far back in history where men used to be in gladiators and just beat each other to death and kill each other, and everybody would cheer and go, whoopie-doo, give us more. So it's kind of always been there, but it's just not necessarily been channeled in the best ways. And I think now in society, it's even, sounds a bit judgmental, it's even harder to be a man in regards to this aggression, this testosterone. There isn't anywhere safe to direct it or to use it or to manage it, apart from what you see there, and the whole idea of the crowd and that competitiveness it's built that way. And unfortunately that leads to very toxic interactions. And I think if you throw into that, which we've talked about many times in previous shows, a lot of men aren't aware of what emotions actually are. And the last thing they're going to do is sit in some of them because they've been told by a young age, men don't cry, man up, be a man, don't be a PUSSY, do whatever you want. So I think a lot of men have all this testosterone that turns into rage, that builds up, and then an outlet will come. And generally for men, compared to women, we're very external. So we're very external in using up that energy, and women are more internal. And that's great if the man is in a healthy place, but if they're not, then that comes out perhaps not in the best ways. And this is what we see there. That's a classic example. One of the things we touched upon, and we'll come on to it, is obviously football, where unfortunately there is a rise in men drinking alcohol, and that leads to more unfortunate violence at home with the women, with the partners, but also on the street. But there's another factor going on at the moment, and you've got it going on in your country. Research has also shown when the temperatures rise, as in the heat, that also leads to more road rage incidents between individuals and fighting and all the rest of it. So you've got a double whammy at the moment in the UK. You've also got the World Cup and England football team, and we do not have a great record of travelling abroad to other countries. We really don't, and it's a real shame for the people who are reasonable in our country, where these fans represent the country and go to other countries and end up in riots and pitch battles with the police and getting arrested. It's disgusting. And we don't help ourselves as a country. And I'll take personal ownership for that. That's my view, and unfortunately gets reinforced all the time. And if you throw in the weather as well, it's just not a great combination, is it?
You know, I think it's kind of funny when you say that. It's weird. Our fans travel okay. It's our government that doesn't travel worth a shit. They're the ones who start all the problems. So, but you know, I think one of the worst things that we're doing, and this is another thing that we talked about, is we are, you know, and I understand the gladiator thing. You know, I understand that everybody rubbernecks at an accident. I understand that there's a, you know, there's a need, an inherent need for us to see people get hurt. There's, you know, there's thrill in that.
Yeah.
But
Sad, isn't it?
yeah, but we're teaching our kids that this is okay. One of my favorite players right now plays for the Kansas City Royals. His name is Bobby Witt Jr. And the one thing that Bobby Witt Jr. does that is so refreshing, and now every kid in Kansas City is doing the same thing. Before Bobby goes up or gets into the batter's box, Bobby looks at his bat and he takes a very, very deep cleansing breath.
Yeah.
And then he blows it out, and he's been asked, why do you do that? And he goes, I need to forget what just happened. I need to focus on what's happening right now. It's a way for me to take and breathe out the, you know, breathe in the air and breathe out the past and get focused on my next, you know, on what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
And Joel, what Bobby Witt Jr. just did there is he taught kids a very valuable lesson, something that you teach adults, that breathing is so important. Yet we've got other athletes that are sitting there with money in their logos and money in their hands and talking about all this stuff, throwing out insults to each other and talking about the garbage in life that, you know, money can buy, and disrespecting not only, in my opinion, their sport, but they're disrespecting their fans. They're disrespecting the people who struggle every day just to pay the $70 to watch them do what they do.
Absolutely, and it's like for Tanya, it's related. There's all this rise of Logan Paul and what he's been doing, and now he's got a contract with a wrestling. And don't get me wrong, as an individual, his technique is good and he's branding you into it. But come on, a social media person who's a bit of a scumbag, and he's then gone and launched in America this so-called health lunch pack for kids, and it's got this disgusting sport drinking that he does, and it's got this plastic sandwich in it, and it's got this dodgy meat sausage, and they're selling this as a healthy lunch for kids. That should not be allowed to happen. It really shouldn't.
And we sit there as shells a lot of time, and we're like going, okay. It says it's healthy, you know. Yeah. If I write healthy on a Snickers bar, it doesn't make it healthy. It makes it a Snickers bar.
I know.
You know, I mean, that's really what it is. And I asked you earlier, would you allow your kid to watch MMA? And you brought up a point, and this is personal to me because my son is a professional wrestler, and you brought up professional wrestling. And I told my son at one point in time, and I told him, Free, if I ever see you spitting in a guy's face, I'm going to be very disappointed and pissed off at you. And I also told him, you need to remember that at your matches, you're a kindergarten teacher. There are children at your matches. Do not let that character overtake the hard work that you do. And watching these men spit on each other and stuff like that, but I come from a world, Joel, that is something that will, not could, will get you hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt to the point of unliving hurt if you would do something like that. So maybe I'm just extra sensitive about it, but I don't, spitting on somebody is just, it's abhorrent, and it is about the lowest. It's about the most disrespectful thing that you can do to someone.
Massively, and agree with that. And that's one of the things we were talking about, where for whatever reason, some of the characters or individuals who play characters, I think that's an important way to put it, in WWE, have now started to spit on the floor in the ring, and it's like, why? There's no need for that. And the other thing what we were reflecting on brings us back to football. There's a lot of young people out there, particularly boys, young men, who might not have a role model. So they look up to these people like the WWE stars, and then they see their behaviour. It's not great seeing them spit on the floor and again try and self-trash, drinking these disgusting energy drinks and stuff like that. It's unacceptable. And the kids who grow up with that, that's what they feel it is to be a man. So they reenact that behaviour. And it's great what you said about the baseball guy. I wish there was more individuals who were leaving a better footprint for kids to engage with. I'm not saying all of them are horrible in WWE. Just some of them are like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to say that? You could have come across a bit differently. And this comes back around. Go on.
And they try to use this excuse. Well, I'm not here to raise your kid. Look, if you say that, I want you to look out into that crowd on who's wearing your shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you may not want that responsibility, and if you don't, get out of the business, because you're in a business that sells to kids.
Yeah.
You know, so, and by the way, I can't stand it when people shill for their like energy drink and stuff like that. But, sorry, I had to do that when you said it. I just had to. By the way, this company is not supported in any way by Rockstar or any of its affiliates. We are not associated with them, so if I said something to offend you, Rockstar has nothing to do with it. That was the opinions of me and my voice only.
I see you've had to read that out before, yeah?
I've seen enough stuff, but but yeah, the one thing that in hockey, the one thing that happens that just royally disgusts me is they do the farmer's Kleenex, and they do it right there on the ice. They just take and they they do that, and it's like going, come on, guys. Have a little respect for yourself.
It's minging, and that's one of the things we're talking off pre-show. Football is the same. I play football. I don't really watch it. And a lot of it is, this is my personal standpoint, a lot of those footballers on the pitch, their behaviour on the pitch is abhorrent, and it's disgusting. And it appears in the media, it appears quite quickly, because they've got all the people to sign NFAs and all that. Do you know what I mean? And non-disclosure agreements, NDAs and all that. But then some are on the pitch, and like you said, they're spitting and they're doing that, and they're flying over because someone's just caught them and rolling around on the floor, and they're in the ref's face. And it's ridiculous how much they get paid. It is sickening. I know some train really hard, but come on. How much do they get paid? It's just horrendous.
What I would kind of like to see is some of these bigger organizations maybe go to the PGA, okay? Because you don't see that in the PGA. There's actually contractual things in the PGA that tell these guys, you are a professional, act like one. Yeah. If you do not act like one, that's one of the reasons why John Daly got in so much trouble, because he couldn't stop drinking, and it got so bad that he had bourbon in his bag, and he was drinking, and so he got into trouble. They've got it in their contracts that, look, if you want to act like an asshat, that's fine, but you're not going to do it here.
Yeah.
You want to go on to a minor league, that's fine. There are, and here in the States, I don't know if it's like there in England. But you see a lot of these players who do these commercials for like the children's hospital and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you can also, Joel, tell when somebody's doing that out of contractual obligation or when somebody actually cares about it, I even in hockey, you can tell the ones of the guys who actually give a damn about it and the ones who don't.
Yeah, what tends to happen in the UK, a lot of the footballers will do for the big sports brand and stuff, but they won't necessarily affiliate themselves with hospitals or whatever like that, because it's all about making as much dollar as possible. But what some of them do, which really churns my stomach, is when they become ex-footballers and they become like for the BBC or ITV in the UK, doing commentary for football games or whatever at the moment. In between the breaks, they're doing advertisements for betting companies and alcohol. I'm like, are you for real? Do you know what I mean? That you're doing that. It's sickening. It's really sickening about where are their morality as individuals, knowing the influence that they have.
Yeah, we've got a show here, and it's called Spitting Chicklets. Okay, it's a very highly ranked. It's a very highly ranked podcast in the United States. It's all about hockey. It's a funny show. It's a very vulgar show. Very vulgar show. Okay, that's okay. They can do that. That's fine. But we're going to talk about social media here real quick, here pretty soon. And I think this might be an okay lead into that eventually. But that's one of those shows that you as a parent, you've got to monitor what the hell your kid's listening to. Because what those gentlemen are saying, your kid does not need to hear.
Yeah.
Your kid, if you are listening to that, with your kid in the car thinking that that's teaching your kid how to become a hockey player, all your kid is learning that, you know what, I can disrespect people, I can beat people up, I can do all this, I can just be an a-hole. I don't need the talent. I don't need to work hard. I already know how to do it because I can just be a professional. And they're taking it to their minor league, their peewees, their midget teams. And yes, they are called midget teams. I'm not just saying that because I like to say the word midget, which I do, but I mean, they are called midget leagues. So I'm not trying to be divisive there. But yeah, I mean, I don't care what they say. I'm an adult. My sons are adults. My son loves listening to it. But we went to watch a game with him, and we listened to it for about 30 minutes. And all I could do was shake my head because it was F and F and F and F and F and F and team, F and F and F and F and F and F player, F and F and F and F and F and F and team. And it was like, conversation, guys. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't have tons of views for the podcast is because you and I just don't say the F word enough.
No,
Darn it!
Sad, no, but it's sad but true. You know what I mean? And that's a general society thing where you look at certain TV programs that are on, and you think, people watch this shit, and it's like.
Yeah.
Nothing really goes on in it apart from abhorrent swearing or indirect violence and everything. It's great, or it's fake TV about the Kardashians or whatever it is. I'm taking all this shit. This is my personal view. This is not reality, and people get sucked into it and then try and be like them and do like them. And for me, where we talked about before, we had the gladiators where men's boys families used to go and watch when people get slaughtered. That's being replaced by football. And then after football won't surprise me, and God forbid it doesn't. That in 5 years' time, literally, we won't be watching films of the Hunger Games. They'll actually be taking place Do you know what I mean? And as a reality show, and Squid Game's concept won't be a film; it'll be reality where you can watch it happen on screen. And it's really sad, but unfortunately, society seems to show that's where we're going if we're not careful from that degree. Frightening, isn't it? But how far out have we moved on from the days of the Romans watching tigers rip arms off men and going, yay! It's makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, and see, here's the other thing, and here's one of the things that people forget about when they glorify that, yeah, this is the modern day gladiator. Is it? Because gladiators were slaves. They were not free men. Okay? These people were cheering people they saw underneath them getting hurt, getting ended by animals, by other men. It's in the truck. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but sorry about that, everyone. But yeah, they were slaves. They were not free men. They weren't doing this because they trained to do this. They were in battle. They lost a battle. The Romans brought them to those Colosseums as a punishment.
Yeah.
And they did it for entertainment. So, glorify gladiator games if you'd like. Do it. We all do it. There's schools out there, the Spartans, this is great. But remember, they weren't there on their own accord.
No.
If you were indebted to somebody so much that you could not pay them, you had to go and fight under their banner until you could afford to pay them back. And it's just the comparisons are people who don't understand history. The comparisons are just, no, these are not modern day gladiators. They don't have to live what they did. These men were taken from their homes at 6, 7 years old and permanently walked away from their homes and became soldiers. That was it. Yeah. Until they lost in battle and then they became slaves. So, to compare these guys, any of them, to a Roman soldier is just, it's wrong. It's just completely wrong. So, what would you, let's put on the holy shit, something magical happened hat. What would you do to make some of this go away?
Wow.
What would you want to see go away first?
In what sense?
When it comes to all of this, I think
if I could make that happen and wave magic wand around, I think I'd probably start with the football and actually reduce the amount of money they get paid and actually put real fines in place when they spit all over the floor and hold the teams accountable. And I think that would also be like use of the clause in people's contracts where you're playing football or wrestling that if you did certain things, you're gone. First warning, second warning, third warning, do one. And I think also as well, what we've been talking about, which crosses over into the role model stuff, actually significant laws around what is healthy food and what isn't from that degree. And again, how much they get paid for that. And I also feel as well, what we touched on before, there are a lot of footballers out there and ex-footballers who have done some horrendous things off the pitch, but it disappeared because they got NDAs. And I think people would look at some of these individuals differently if that was taken into account. Because for me on that one, this is personal opinion, if they didn't do anything wrong, why have they got people to sign NDAs? Does that make sense? Why would you need an NDA if you're innocent? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And that's a general issue across the entire court system. It's not it's not just one aspect. So with that, the other one, which again blocks away from the one around magic one, role models. That there's a lot of boys, unfortunately, out there who don't have role models, and in particular cultures, there's a vacuum. And they look towards these so-called social influencers, So there would have to be somewhere around policing or regulating this whole gobshite industry of social media influencers. Because if you ask some kids now what they want to be when they're older, some of them will say, I want to be a social influencer. And I think we've touched on this before, where is the days of jobs gone where you actually make a difference to someone's life? Do you know what I mean? You actually see that you leave a legacy behind because you've helped X amount of people live better lives. How have social influencers done that? Some are brilliant.
I definitely,
a lot of them aren't.
I absolutely think that falls into our next our next topic. And my thing is, I love what you were just saying. Giving a guy who makes, $150 million a year a $5,000 fine because he did something, or suspending him for 2 games or something like that. So what? Give me, that's like, giving me a 35-cent fine and telling me I can't go to work for a day. Going to work, not being able to go to work for a day, okay, that one hurts a little bit for me. But they got guaranteed contracts. A lot of them have guaranteed contracts. That money comes regardless.
Yeah.
And the endorsements don't stop. How about telling these guys, you know what? If you don't stop the vial that you spit, you know what? We're going to dock your contract. How about putting in these contracts? Look, we're going to put a clause in there that you have to act like a damn human being instead of an animal. We're not hiring, we're not hiring bulls to come out there and do this. We're hiring people who, you need to make sure that people can follow what you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And dads, how about not glorifying what they do? Not telling your kids this is right. Because it's not right to treat other human beings like some of them do. Look, I hate the New York Rangers. I hate them. I hate them with a passion. I am a New Jersey Devils fan. I hate the New York Rangers. I don't give a rat's ass about their fans. I would never go up and fight a New York Rangers fan because he's a New York Rangers fan. We might get into a little bit of verbal sparring, but it's going to be in good taste and it's going to be humorous. Because I'm not going to let it get to where I don't like your team, so you are scum territory. Because that's not true. You like a team different than I do, so what? So, hell, I live with Broncos fans, and I can't stand that team. Okay? I live with fans of people in the different political side than I do. I get along with them just fine at times.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're getting on a point there, which is really important, and we've touched on this before. That then does not give you the right, not you, but generally as an individual, to go up to somebody else and slap them around the face or punch or kick them. Because again, there seems to be a thing which comes up with a lot of the men around personal responsibility and accountability. It's easy to blame somebody else and take account for your actions and your behaviour. And I think that unfortunately falls into a lot of the man category than it does more for women in doing that. And you were talking about that off air before, that fan situation.
Yeah, well, I really think that the accountability is something that, you know what, we need to start getting away from some of these lighter sentences for things. If you hit somebody, if you're out there and you abuse somebody, you put somebody in the hospital, I'm sorry, you deserve jail time. You deserve jail time. Unless they're doing something that you got to protect your family. I mean, if they're talking about your favorite team and you knock somebody out and send them to the hospital, you not only have to pay for their hospital bills, but you need to pay. You need to spend some time in jail. You need to come out and publicly tell people, "Hey, I'm an asshole. Yeah. I'm sorry. I let my emotions run away from me." Control your damn emotions. It can happen. I don't go out and kick a garbage can every time the Devils lose, which is probably a pretty damn good thing. I'd have a broken foot by now.
And a bed bin.
Yeah, don't let me get into talking about the Kansas City Royals right now. I'd have broken everything right now if they, So, but let's go on ahead and move on. And I know that you really wanted to get to this one, and you were talking about what they do in England when it comes to something that's a very, very sensitive topic. And matter of fact, with the elections coming up, we're hearing a lot about it here in the States, and that is the culpability of social media on kids. And Joel, I want to hear about what they're doing in England, but my thing is that, you know what? And I used this reference when you and I first started talking. Do knife companies have to start putting on their, are dulling their knives because people make stupid mistakes or stupid decisions and they cut their hands? Where are the parents in all this?
Absolutely. And again, I don't know if it's coming to law yet or it's just the suggestion phase, but very much the idea of what the UK government have done is bringing in this way of holding social media companies accountable from the perspective of it being, I don't know if the right word's illegal, because there's been questions around how do you enforce that, but basically making it accountable to social media companies that any children under 16 years old are not allowed an account on like Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it might be. I can't remember if all the platforms are in or only one of them are in. And that if you need to set up an account going forwards, that you've got to use a recognised government ID, so that could be a passport or driving license or whatever it is to start that account. The other thing which is interesting, which we didn't talk about, there's an idea of coming in for 18-year-olds that there will be a built-in social media accountability timer where after, say, 10 p.m., the social media shuts down. Because what's happening in the UK, a lot of the students in sort of A-level or university are basically staying in all night watching this garbage, and they're going into the education setting very tired. So there's that. That's what the idea is. I think from 16 to 18, so it's college age. Sorry, to manage that, which is absolutely fantastic. But the important thing is, how do you police that? And also in that, what you mentioned there about the knives, the parents also need to take a level of responsibility in their parenting of their own kids. Because what we were saying is true. A lot of these parents say, oh, look at the impact on social media of my kids under 16. A, why did you allow your kids to have a social media account in the first place before this law came in and they're under 16? And B, why they got a mobile phone in the first place anyway? Because from my personal perspective, my son's 9 years old. My view of parenting is he shouldn't need a mobile phone. At least he's after 16. Who's he going to call? Where's he going to go?
Like I said, I shiver at the thought of listening to a one-sided 10-year-old conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I shiver at that thought, and I remember that my son, I told him once that he needed to take and go outside and play with his friend. And without, this wasn't a joke, this was what his response was. I looked over, he had his gaming system, and his friend was trying to unplug his TV. He came up to me and asked me for an extension cord. And I looked at him and I said, what are you doing? And he said, Dad, we're going outside to play. And I'm like, oh my God, no.
He take you outside to play on the cover.
Yeah. And I was like, no. Do physical things. No.
That's classic. Sorry.
And he goes, but this is what we like to do. And I'm like, oh my God. And I did not give him an extension cord. Just to let everyone know, I did not give him an extension cord. But, I mean, has it really become, like, my grandsons are here, and it's really cool because every once in a while, yeah, they shut off the gaming system, and, you know, they all go out. We're lucky, we got a park in the backyard. They'll play basketball, they'll do something. And they don't have to be kicked off the gaming system all the time, you know. The second oldest boy, if we had a place for him to go fish anywhere around here, I'm pretty sure he'd be gone already. You know, I mean, these are boys from smaller towns, smaller country areas, and you know they enjoy doing stuff outside. You know, so now they're at the boring older people's houses. So you know, and plus they're kids in an area where they don't really know anybody, so they're kind of stuck inside a little bit. But you know, it's nice to see these guys not need a lot of encouragement to go and do something else.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, outdoor play is really important for development in so many ways, particularly what we talked about earlier in this show, about letting off energy, going out and interacting with the world or whatever, you know, children want to do. It's really, really important. But again, this goes back into parent responsibility. And it's okay allowing kids to go outside, that you're aware of what they're doing, than it is kicking them out and saying, come back in 4 hours, daddy's busy or mummy's busy. Because that's not acceptable either. That's like, you just don't give a shit about your kids, and at some point they'll arrive back. So it's important to find that balance of that. But also what we've also been talking about here is parenting is done by people. It's not by proxy by the mobile phone or the iPad, whatever it is. And I think we're running the risk of it coming parenting by proxy if we're not careful and we continue what we're doing, which goes back to what we were saying before. You know, my son's 9 years old. He's in year 4, primary school. Last year, primary school is year 6 before it goes on to high school, what you guys call it, I think, which we class secondary school. And there's some kids in his year group who've got mobile phones. I don't understand why kids at 9-year-old have mobile phones. It doesn't make any sense. And I know what parents would say, oh, it's so I know where they are. Well, where do you think they're going to be? They're either going to be at home or they're going to be in school. Well, why do you? Oh, but I need to know the safe between school and home. Yeah, but how's that going to help the mobile phone? I don't get it. I don't understand it. So again, all this comes into what we've been talking about, this theme of social media and role models and stuff.
Yeah, I know that things are. Look, there's no doubt that, you know, times are scarier now, and especially for kids. And you know, with the rash of trafficking and everything else that we got, you know, we do need to watch our kids. But that's where you got to train your kids how to be safer. You know what? If your kids walk home from school, they never walk alone. They group and they protect. You know, talk to people along the route. Hey, look, my child is going to walk past your home approximately this time every day. Can you please make sure that this happens, you know? And just kind of check out. And if you see, you know, if you see that they're not there, if maybe you could give me a call, you know, that's one way that you could take and you can do this. But let's be honest, these people also have those, you know, the cameras in their house. As soon as the kid walks in, you can say, hey, glad to see you're home. They can respond, I'm home, you know. Yeah. It's not like there's no way to communicate anymore. I remember, you know, as a kid, I got in trouble because my parents did not know where I was. Mm-hmm. Okay? I was out, well, not until about noon, because I slept until noon usually, but I was out until about midnight or so. So, I mean, I was definitely a rebellious kid, but you know, my parents never knew. I never had that problem with my kids. I knew exactly where they were, and well, with Justice, I knew exactly where he was. He was either in his room or his best friend's room. That's where they were. They didn't.
Yeah.
And
you've raised some really interesting there, and it was a TikTok clip, and it was an American guy talking. And again, he made some really relevant points, and he was sort of saying, when you are not careful or know the full information, that you are letting your kid go to somebody else's kid. So you're letting your kid go to somebody else's house. You've got no idea who's there. You don't know who the parents are. You don't know who else is going to be around. And it was just food for thought and reflecting on that when Aiden's a bit older. So do I actually know who's in that house? Do I know who's actually going to be there? Do you know what I mean? And again, it's just food for thought. It's not saying lock him up and keep him in his bedroom. It's just being, like you said, being more aware of the situations.
You mentioned influencers earlier, and I think one really good idea would be to take and, as a parent, go through and look at all the posts of these influencers, because you can show these kids some of the horrors that these kids don't see, because maybe they're just, some of these posts that are like, maybe they don't see the post where this influencer goes through this, I feel shameful, or I feel so alone, or I feel, because these influencers a lot of time are so depressed because the only people, they know that they have friends, but they don't have any close friends. Every friend that they've got is a, character that appears on their little counter up top.
Yeah.
They don't have close relationships because they spend all day with this little thing here, and this thing. This is their life. This is what they do. And they feel important, and they feel like there's something special. Yet when this is not there, they feel alone. And so maybe parents should go in there and say, look, this is a person who needs other people, who needs help, who needs that experience of doing other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that as well, they're monetizing other people's misery.
Yeah, Yeah.
And this goes back into that context of what we've been talking about. And the other thing, again, these go back to something you said before, which I reflect upon. Some of these social media influencers, they make millions of pounds. And not just to them, but again, this is a general thought that I have, which probably wouldn't be popular if I ever ran for Prime Minister. But the way I would do it, if you earn over £1 million a year, then 10% of that should be put into a pot, which then can go towards supporting the homeless people or this, that, or the other. So after 1 million, you wouldn't get that leverage again. It would be just first 1 million at 10%. So you've got 60 million in the bank. You just lost 10% of that first million. It's a drop in the ocean. And if you've got, unfortunately, what we have in the UK, some of the most billionaires or millionaires in the world, in our shitty little country, you could solve so many problems overnight. 10% on 1 million is nothing for those people who've got billions and billions of pounds. And the same with social influencers. And this goes back to what you said about the footballers. If footballers misbehave, then their weekly wage, 10% of that should be put into that pot for charity pot to support out homeless people. That's nothing to them. That's a peanut based on how much they get paid for a year. And you solve problems. You make people accountable.
I think everybody ought to be responsible for a little bit of the social impact that we do. I really do. I think everybody should hold they should hold some themselves responsible for some of this social impact. Because you know what? Look, and we say it as one of our taglines, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. And that is the truth. Yeah. If we're not helping someone, we are hurting everyone in our community. And we got to remember, as business owners, as athletes, as influencers, as whoever you are, if this person who's watching me now is not taken care of, they may not be here for long.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do when they're not here and those numbers start to drop? So Joel, I greatly appreciate this. My brother, my friend, you're my hero. I appreciate it so much. Good luck with the World Cup. And how's England even doing right now in that thing?
Well, the usual, they come out strong, they fizzle out, they kind of make it to the quarterfinals, and then they just get rejected, and the media say they're all crap, and all the fans hate them by the end of it. It's a usual pattern. So there was a win, was it 4-2 our first game, and 0-0 last night. It wasn't really worth watching, gotta be honest with you, Zach. So you're not missing much, not understanding the game.
Let's see here. I have no idea. Let's see. The Americans are the first in theirs with 2 wins.
Right. I didn't even know. I didn't even know America had got a football team.
Yeah, 2 wins on 2 matches played with 6 points. They're in first place in Group D.
Yeah.
But then it shows that there's more than 2 wins. It shows that there's 3 wins. They beat Australia. Oh, no, never mind. They beat Australia and Paraguay. Yeah. Those don't sound like, the killer's row of football.
Again, I don't know.
Australia's got to be pretty strong. Australia's got to be pretty strong, right?
Yeah, a lot of these teams wax and wane. But don't forget, the whole money-making business of the World Cup is now up to like 60-odd teams. So it's about how much money can we make from it. And don't forget that long ago about the guy, Seth Blatter, or what he's called, who was a top guy at FIFA, was so corrupt it weren't even funny. And that disappeared in the background. And I don't necessarily think it's improved that much from there.
This joker who's running it now, he ain't much better. He, creating a peace prize to give to the president. The FIFA. Sorry, I'm not trying to be culturally insensitive here, but this guy giving our president a peace prize for the culture of football. Which is one of the truly most violent games out there. That was a little weird to me. So
it's not just that. It's doing the World Cup over 3 different continents is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
And like I said,
it's up the road. It's a completely different country.
The funniest thing about that was
just horrendous.
Yeah, and the funniest thing about that was this is for unity, yet, it's 2 countries right now that the U.S. is fighting again. We're trying to envelop one of them and tell them the other one that we're going to bomb them because of their, because of the drugs that are coming out. That's not quite unity, I hate to say. So, but Joel, how do people get a hold of you, brother?
Yeah, people can get hold of me at www.rewiredformen.com. Reach out, lots of great resources in there. Where I come from is I support men in family businesses, particularly in areas of construction and trade, IT and communication, finance and investment. Men do talk, people. They talk in a different way. They tend to talk about complaints or planning statements around money, work and relationships. If you want to learn more about how to help these men, have a look at my website. There's a great tab on there called Resources or Help With, which will give you all the information you need. If you want to speak more to me, book in for a free discovery call. Have a look at my profile and community. Pay it forward. I am a community pay it forward partner. Oh, big sentence. That way.
Yeah, all right there. All you have to do is scan that QR code. You'll get to Joel's page. Yeah, there you go. You'll get to Joel's page. Find out more about him. The other thing that you can do is say, hey, Zach, I hear you talking to this Joel character. I'd love to talk to him myself. And I will put out an introduction to you two. You guys can meet each other and have that wonderful conversation, because I guarantee you it is going to be a wonderful conversation. So Joel, thank you very much. I appreciate it, brother. Once again, you've been watching Rewired for Men, and then we hope to see you again next month right here on the Pack Podcasting Networks. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
When the world feels heavy and the nights get long, we lift each other up, that's how we stay strong. Every act of kindness starts a chain reaction. Every step of caring turns into action. Come together, lift each other, every neighbor, sister, brother. Hope grows louder when we share, love grows stronger when we care. Come together, stand united, every spark becomes ignited. Community pay it forward, we're the light they're looking for.
Hey everyone, let's give a huge community pay it forward welcome to Arbach International and Philip B. Arbach. For over 30 years, they've helped businesses connect across borders with world-class translation and localization services. We're so excited to partner with a company that believes in impact, inclusion, and lifting communities together. Please scan the QR code beside me and visit their profile. Show some love, and remember, when you shop with a purpose, we all win. When you do business with Arbach International, you shop with a purpose. Take a picture of the receipt and support with heart. Welcome to the Community Pay It Forward program, Philip and Arbach International.